What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Now, SummerSlam is over and there's plenty of news to report, so let's not waste any time. Join us now as we look at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including Stephanie McMahon wants the roster to be 50% women, another WWE star could be returning, Rey Mysterio was cut out of AEW Dynamite, The Miz has been called out for white privilege, Roman Reigns' plans have been leaked, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Now let's hit the intro and get straight into the first story. Now our first story looks at Stephanie McMahon wanting equal number of men and women on the roster. The WWE's women's division continues to improve both in terms of in-ring work, and the women's role in the WWE is more than just supporting players. Speaking with Fox Sports' Charlotte Wilder, WWE's Chief Brand Officer Stephanie McMahon commented on her goals for the women's division. "I don't want it to be a big deal anymore when our women are the main event. I think that they just should be equally alongside the men. There needs to be a parity on the roster. I'd love to see an equal number of men and women equally represented. Of course, at times that would be ebb and flow, but I think that would be very important. And just more storylines, more women, more storylines, I think we've done a good job, I really do, but I think we can do even better." Now, there has been an obvious increase in the number of storylines and matches featuring female competitors, particularly on Raw, and as the fans saw at this year's SummerSlam, the women can steal the show just as much as the men. The only problem is that they concentrate on just a few number of women in the women's division and forget everybody else. If you want to increase the number of women on the roster to 50% equally, then you have to make sure that the majority of those women on the roster are being used correctly. In fact, if you want 50% women, then you might as well make your own show dedicated to them. So before Stephanie McMahon revolutionizes the roster, they've got to make sure that they have a proper plan in place. Next up, The Miz has been called out for white privilege. The WWE's Talking Smack program returned on 22nd August, but the big talk isn't the show's return, but the heated exchange between The Miz and the New Day's Biggie. The Miz sat in for Xavier Woods, who was scheduled to appear but did not, as rumor has it he wasn't notified in time. But during his appearance, Biggie said he wanted to talk about how Kofi Kingston's legs were cut up from under him after he dropped the WWE Championship to Brock Lesnar last year. The Miz pointed out that the same thing happened to him and that it was up to Kofi to get back up to the top. Biggie called out The Miz, asking him whether it took him 11 years to get his first World Championship opportunity and that The Miz had other opportunities Kofi wasn't afforded. The exchange brought up accusations of The Miz being blind to white privilege, as some people took to Twitter to criticize him. However, watching this segment, it appears to be a work, as The Miz seemed to be cutting a promo rather than making a segment. The Miz also brought up the common criticism for the New Day in that they need to be more serious if they want a real push. Add in Xavier Woods' convenient absence from the show, and it's obvious that WWE wanted to create controversy to build interest in Talking Smack's return. Now, this cheap heat might be a bad move considering how poorly the WWE addresses storylines dealing with social commentary. Next up, details on Renee Young's non-compete clause. Now, the WWE provided a surprisingly classy send-off for Renee Young, not only having her appear on the SummerSlam kickoff show, but giving her colleagues time to wish her good luck as she leaves the WWE. Renee was as classy as ever, thanking the WWE for the many opportunities that they've given her, and now fans are wondering when Young might find work outside the WWE. Now, by all news accounts, Young has a non-compete clause that prevents her from working for another wrestling organization, but she is free to work anywhere else, whether it's sports such as football, entertainment, or just about anything. There's been speculation about Young's non-compete clause with fans, and news sites speculating it could be 90 days since most wrestling non-competes run that time. Whatever the case, the very talented Young shouldn't have any problem finding work. Next up, another WWE star returning? Now, just after SummerSlam, all the WWE Universe could talk about was the return of the big dog Roman Reigns, carving out a path of destruction at the end of SummerSlam. Not to mention Randy Orton pointing out a little change of Roman's teeth. He did so by posting a picture of Brian from Family Guy with his teeth gleaming, saying it's nice to see the big dog back, obviously pointing out to Roman's new teeth. However, Reigns may not be the only absent superstar about to return. The Wrestling Observer's Brian Alvarez discussed a potential return during a recent episode of the Brian and Vinny show. I don't have this confirmed, but one person did tell me that somebody else who left as a result of the pandemic is also back literally at any time. So I don't know if everybody knows something that I don't know or what. Maybe the pandemic just ended like 10 minutes ago, I'm not sure, but that's the update. One such star could be Sami Zayn, who has been sitting things out for some time. Another is Brock Lesnar, who the WWE reportedly didn't want to bring back until it stopped running shows out of the PC. Wrestling News' Paul Davis had an interesting take on why wrestlers concerned about the coronavirus are more likely to work the Thunderdome than the PC. The feeling in the company is that the Thunderdome shows are much safer, and in addition to the safety measures and testing in place, the chances of an outbreak happening are much lower now that they're in a bigger arena. The WWE has an excellent opportunity to capitalize on the momentum from the strong SummerSlam show, and another big return could boost the fans' interest even more. But who do you think could be returning? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, the reason behind why Sonya's and Mandy's stipulation changed and Sonya's future in the WWE. Our fans are curious why the hair versus hair stipulation between Rose and Sonya Deville was changed to a loser leaves WWE match, especially after the serious heat generated for the two former friends' feud. According to Alvarez, the WWE changed the stipulation just hours before SmackDown. As noted in an earlier news video, it's believed Deville was advised by her attorney to not show up in a court bald should she have to testify against her stalker. According to WrestlingNews.co, the assumption is that Deville will be taking some time off to deal with the legal case against her stalker. If she returns, it would make sense for her to use her real name, Daria Baronato. The WWE released a video of Deville after a loss to Mandy when she was asked what's next. An angry Deville pushed the camera operator and said, "Do not call me that ever again." Having a return under her real name may be the WWE's way of bypassing the stipulation, but then again, they could easily drop the stipulation as continuity rarely gets in the way of storylines. Next up, a big spoiler as Roman Reigns' plans have been leaked. The WWE Universe is still buzzing about Roman Reigns' blockbuster return at SummerSlam, where he laid out The Fiend and Braun Strowman after their brutal last man standing match for the Universal Championship. Now, based on a report from Wrestling News, it appears Vince McMahon isn't wasting any time with his plans for Reigns. Vince McMahon wants Reigns to have an edge to him, and what they are doing now with him is what was originally planned for WrestleMania 36 and beyond, but those plans were put on hold when Reigns went home because of COVID-19 concerns. Reigns was supposed to win the Universal Championship from Goldberg at Mania. Now the plan is for Reigns to take the title from Wyatt. The word going around backstage tonight was that the title change may happen as soon as next Sunday at Payback. It's not clear if the plan is to do Wyatt versus Reigns or a triple threat match with Strowman involved. Wow, that would be an absolutely horrendous mistake. They just put the belt on Wyatt and now he's gonna drop it just a week later. If they do this to Wyatt and he gets pinned by Roman Reigns, then that could be really the end of The Fiend's momentum. But what do you guys think? Should they take the belt off The Fiend right away just to give Roman his edgy character some more substance? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, Vince still wants a hair match. Now, although we didn't get a hair versus hair match at SummerSlam, Vince McMahon reportedly wants one to happen. According to Brian Alvarez, the WWE was still planning on the hair versus hair match, but things changed at SmackDown. Nonetheless, apparently Vince still wants to do a hair match, so if you see them shoot angles that look like they're leading towards a hair match, well, there you go. Who could be involved in the hair versus hair match, as there were plans to do a mask versus hair match between Andrade and Rey, but obviously that got nixed. Maybe they might revisit this sometime later down the line. Next up, Karrion Kross reveals when he was injured. Newly crowned NXT champion Karrion Kross defeated Keith Lee to become the Black and Gold brand's top dog, but it came with a price. As during the match, Kross suffered a devastating shoulder injury, and now doctors are scrambling to find out when he can return to action. Kross revealed that he suffered the injury when the 300-pound Keith Lee clotheslined him and Kross's shoulder took most of the blow. Kross described the experience as it felt like a choir of demons screaming inside my shoulder in unison. Kross said he intends to prove himself to everyone by dealing with whatever comes from this injury, whether it's a short-term rehab or an extended absence. Next up, Rey Mysterio is edited out of Dynamite. Now, did you see Rey Mysterio on the recent episode of Dynamite? Well, no, obviously you didn't, but you almost did, as Fightful Select reports Rey's name was mentioned during the segment when Eddie Kingston confronted the Butcher, Blade, Rey Fenix, and Pentagon Jr. According to Ringside News, Mr. 619 was mentioned by Eddie Kingston while he talked up to Fenix. Pentagon Jr., Butcher and the Blade. The Mysterio name drop was later removed from the show, but a reason wasn't given as to why. Now, if you've been following our news coverage of Ray's contract negotiations, AEW had made a contract offer to Ray. Now, the reason for Ray being deleted from the show is obvious, as AEW has no interest in promoting a wrestler working for another promotion. And finally, how WWE kept Roman Reigns' return secret. Now, at this point, nobody seemed to have known, as it appears to have been handled with the utmost secrecy. Ringside News was reporting that it has learned that Roman Reigns' return was kept as a top secret. We were told that nobody knew he was coming back. The finish of the match was just starting to get around minutes prior to the main event match starting. A member of the creative team who was backstage at the time told Ringside News, "I don't know where he was hidden." It was also said that this has been total top secret. But whatever the case, Reigns' return has the wrestling world talking, which is usually good for business. But there you have it, guys, the wildest wrestling news stories and rumors you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Facebook for exclusive lists, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.